afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Artists of Color. I am Elaine Hall-Corbin, your host. And today, we have a very interesting guest who also happens to be a pretty amazing man. So I want to introduce my guest, Daniel Callahan. And he is, if nobody knows it, and everyone should know, he created a program called MassQing, and it's called MassQ. And I went to his first ball, but I met him in 2017 when, who was it, Catherine T. Morris opened up BAMS Fest. And that's how I met Daniel. Daniel, good afternoon. I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I feel like I'm coming home. I feel like I'm not a guest anymore.
I love coming. I like that. I love it when my guests feel like they're coming home. That makes me feel really good. Now, I want to get right into this.
Sure.
I want to begin by asking you to explain to my audience what masking is.
Okay. So when we usually think of the word mask, we think of something that we use to cover our face or to hide our identity, or in Halloween to become somebody else. But what I like to do is use paint directly onto the face and bring what's inside out. So instead of concealing, to reveal things about people. And it's very much based on, indigenous practices of body decoration, which we find all over the world. But it's sort of a new contextualization where I'm using the human face as a canvas and really trying to promote the idea that we are all works of art. And so if we can look at each other as works of art, I think it would change the way that we behave and treat each other.
Okay. When you first, what's the technique? Explain to us, explain to my audience the technique of masking.
Sure, it's very basic. I mean, it's very much like face painting. I tend not to call it face painting because our sort of cultural idea of face painting is you ask someone to paint something on their face and they do it. Whereas the masking that I do is less about sort of fulfilling like a commission and more about me communing with someone else. And when I talk with them for a while, I'll ask them a bunch of questions about where they are in the moment, because the mask is really supposed to represent where you are in the moment. And then I will start to see colors, shapes, lines. I'll start to sketch those out. And then when I get a good enough sense to begin, I begin. And that's how I mask other people. When I'm masking myself, it's very much the same process. I have a series of questions I ask myself. I do a lot of reflection, get a sense of where I am in the moment, and then try to express that onto my face.
Okay, I get that. It's not, I won't use the word unique, but it is very cultural.
Absolutely.
And very indigenous.
Absolutely.
So when you first, what made you start such a process?
I started that process actually through music. When I was out in California, I was working with a group, a music group, and we held these parties, but we didn't want to do the Victorian thing where people came with masks on their face. So we were like, okay, let's have a ball, but let's not do the Victorian thing. Let's have people paint their faces and paint the masks on their faces. And that was really my introduction to that. And once we saw how amazing that was, and we were able to bring such a diverse people together because everyone had their own sort of cultural tradition around, using paint on the face and what that meant for them, I really started to research indigenous practices of body decoration and realized it's a ritual that often people use when they're transforming into something else, when they're moving through life, they're becoming something else.
Or growing spiritually.
Exactly.
Not just physically, but spiritually.
Yes, okay. Absolutely. So when you change, say, from being single to being married, or when you change from being a boy to a man, there's often these rituals that accompany with it that involve changing your face. Yeah. And so I found it was very powerful and meaningful in the time when I was changing and didn't have a ritual to go to. I went to that, and that really kind of brought me through.
Oh, okay. Now you said when you found yourself changing and you went through a ritual, did you, and I know you did mention that you masked yourself.
Yes.
When you did that, did you see the changes? the reflective changes in your masking yourself?
Yeah, so the change I was going through was that, I thought I was really going to be focusing my entire life on music. And I got to a point where I really got burnt out doing music. And I then had this sort of crisis of like, well, who am I and what am I supposed to be doing here if it's not music? And through masking, I really sort of saw myself in a different way, which allowed me to just open the possibilities of who and what I could be. And that was really important for me. And the craft in and of itself became my new expression. So when I couldn't express myself through music, I can now express myself through this visual medium of masking.
Okay, okay. I've noticed, I've been to a few of your exhibits, and I've noticed how people, well, I don't know whether you've masked them or people have masked themselves. And I just noted the differences, like there are lines or flowers, different types of, I want to say, things that aren't, to me, at masking, when I first met you and I saw masking through you, and I noticed there were a lot of lines, and whether they were wide lines or thin lines, but I noticed a lot of lines. But as you, I assume, masked other people, or they've masked themselves, that they've begun to, like I said, use flowers or different types of, just anything that I guess they would possibly think of or know of. Is masking that way? In other words, you can do whatever you want on your face as far as masking is concerned? It doesn't I'm asking you. It doesn't have to be lines? I'm trying to get an idea.
Sure, I mean, it's yes. I mean, it should be an expression of who you are. Okay. What I have taught masking workshops now, where I'm teaching people sort of the approach. Again, it's very basic. It's paint, it's face paint, and your face. So the beautiful thing about it is it's accessible to anyone. Pretty much anyone can pick up a paintbrush and start doing this. But what I like to encourage people to do is to use unique patterns and unique objects and shapes and forms. So, sure, you could certainly paint flowers, you could certainly paint, logos, you can paint whatever you want on your face.
Like I was noticing, I'm looking here on the set.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so see,
but if you notice in a lot of my work, I try to stray away from using recognizable symbols because they're really supposed to be, they're supposed to be sort of expressing me as a unique individual. Okay. And, most of the symbols that we already know today are expressing something else and not necessarily me.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to get right into this.
Sure.
I was going to leave it a little while, but I'm going to get into it now. You did, besides being a masking professional, as I would like to be, an artist, Daniel also is a producer, a designer, and he did a film. He's also a filmmaker.
I am.
So I think it's been a year that you did the first film?
Oh, it's been...
Or has it been more than that?
It was released in 2020.
Okay.
So it's been close to 4 years now.
It's been that long. Okay.
I know. It's
wow.
Time
and
flies.
I saw that film and I said, okay. Explain to me what made you want to do a film.
Sure. So the film is called Come On In.
Yep.
It's a psychological thriller basically around an artist who is slowly losing grasp on reality and really needs to find himself. And at being an artist, it's there's parallels in my own life, again, in terms of getting to a point where the mediums that you've used, that you've identified with, no longer work for you, and you having to find a new way of living life and being. And the challenges of that, the stress around that, the identity crisis around that was something that I wanted to use film, metaphorically to discuss.
Oh, okay.
So the film is a fictional film, but it was a way for me to sort of process that change in my life. And the one-man show, which I don't want to get ahead of you.
Yes, please don't.
Okay, I won't. But yeah, so that was very much what that film was about.
I knew that. And now, see, I don't want to get into that so quickly.
I messed it up, didn't I?
We'll do a little bit.
Okay.
Just a little bit. In 2023, Daniel Callahan did a one-man show. And I also was honored to be there for that. It was very interesting. I have to admit it. Parts of it, like I said to I brought my daughter-in-law with me because you guys met. And I said, I didn't know he could sing. I couldn't, but I said, Daniel's up here singing. But Daniel's doing a whole lot of other things in this one-man show. What made you want to do a one-man show on Come On In? And this time it was called Come On In Live. Mm-hmm. Why did you want to do that? What made you decide to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think your story is like a good example because, you know, a lot of people see me really just around the mask work. And that's kind of what's gotten me a lot of visibility, and that's a beautiful thing. But people don't realize that I came to masking through music. And I was, you know, before I was even masking, I was performing and writing music. And so I have these sort of little slices of my identity that really haven't been integrated yet. And I haven't like showed people my whole journey. And I think that was really the reason why I wanted to do this show, was really to be able to tell people my journey. You know, how did I get to where I am now? Yeah, and why am I doing this masking thing? Why is it so important to me? And that really allowed me to, I was like, okay, well, in order to tell them about masking, I have to start with this. And in order to tell them about this, I have to start with this.
Start with that.
And so I just ended up working my way back, and I was like, you know what, I just have to tell my story. And the other thing was just that really resonated with me was that the more I talked about the issues I was having with other people, the more I realized other people were also having similar issues, you know, like, and one, I wasn't alone, but two, you know, we're all challenged with this idea of who we are and how that changes over time, and conflicting ideas of who we should be, what we should be doing. We're all dealing with that. And so this one-man show was a way for me to tell my story as sincerely as I could, to invite other people not only reflect on their own, but to feel okay with the fact that yes, we're all struggling. And if we all struggle together, we would actually be in a better position, you know? So I'm hoping the show would give a space for a lot more like sort of just really vulnerability.
And that's what it is, vulnerability.
Yeah,
you know, it really is. And I noticed a lot of people were talking to you when that show was over. What did you find people asking you more about as far as that piece was done? What did they ask you more? What were they more trying to get out of you as to why you did it? What made you do it? What were the pieces of you that were vulnerable that you brought out in that piece? Did you find that when people talk to you?
I think what was really like validating was that people would come up and tell me how much they understood.
Okay.
You know, like, and that it resonated with them, and that they have a son, they have a brother, they have, you know, who's going through similar things. And yeah, that was really beautiful, like just to see my community come out first and foremost. I appreciate you coming out, you know, that's huge. And supporting me, but also in talking with folks to realize, like people understand, they get it. For a while, you know, when we go through things, we think we're the only person going through them and that people won't understand.
Yes.
But they do, because they are going through it too. And so I got a lot of, you know, a lot of really amazing conversations with people around things that they're going through, you know.
I really liked the ending of that when you had with the psychologist, the doctor that was there, and they did, and you guys had a session where people wanted to ask questions, but I also realized the conversation between you and him. And I found that to be quite interesting because I felt like I was seeing more of, like you said, a vulnerability. You know?
Yeah. It's so important, specifically for Black men.
Yes.
You know, because we live in a society that is hostile, and so we've had to put up walls and we've had to protect ourselves. And, you know, definitely in our own culture too, there are these notions that, you know, you have to be, you have to be hard, you have to be, you know, you can't show weakness, that somehow vulnerability is a weakness. And so all these ideas are ideas we kind of have to unlearn. And so if I can, you know, if I can be a part of that, and
helping Black men to understand that piece.
Yes.
It's funny because I was talking to someone today about that, and they were saying that, you know, they're tired, things that they've been doing they don't want to do anymore. It's the corporate, because they work in corporate, and they want to do other things. And I was saying to them, well, you know, start your own business. I mean, and it was funny because that person was saying to me, you know, you're not the only one that said I should start my own business. I said, because, you know, here I am a long time later doing what I do, and I've been doing it for a long time. I've been producing for 17 years, but I've been doing a publication for 26 years. You know, and it's just interesting how, you know, but as Black men, we need to support, we as Black women need to support Black men more, but I also believe that Black men need to realize that they need to be vulnerable. They need to be able to express themselves, like what you did in that one man piece last year. It was like, wow, I got a lot out of that. You know, I really, really did. Besides just I didn't know he could sing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
You know, the piece about going from wanting to decide if, I think there was a piece that part of it was saying you wanting to be a minister, because I know you said in that piece, you said, your dad, my father's a preacher in a church, and I don't know if I really want to go to church. And it was just so much.
Yeah.
Just so much. And the part about journaling, I'm going to ask this. Did you take a lot of that from your own journal? Or was it just something that you wanted to add to the performance?
Yeah, I mean, journaling has definitely been a part of my process throughout my entire life. And in fact, you know, with hip hop, so the show, you know, just take a step back, the show is about my journey, but it's also about my journey with three particular institutions, one being hip hop, the other being school, and the other being church. You know, I was raised in the church, and I was basically raised in hip hop. You know, I'm an 80s baby, early 80s baby, so I was really raised in that culture. So I was pretty much riding the wave of the golden age of hip hop, you know. And I've been in school most of my life, you know. And so
you're either going or you're teaching.
Exactly, right. I'm still in school now, teaching, right?
Yes.
So these three institutions really were huge in terms of my own development as a person. And again, those conflicting narratives between all three were very difficult to, like, you know, make sense of, you know, because they all seem to be telling different things.
Totally different things.
But to the point you made about, you know, having the psychiatrist who was Dr. Martin Pierre, at the end is, I mean, not only will it benefit us as Black men to be more open with each other, more vulnerable, and to talk more about what we're going through, but to do it safely and to do it, you know, through therapy. Like, and I'm a big practitioner and just advocate for therapy. It's you know, we talk about having accountants for our money. You know, we talk about having personal trainers for our physical fitness, right? And no one seems to shame us about that. But for some reason, we talk about our mental health.
So then everybody says,
right?
Oh, no.
And it's like, I'm like, if you want to be your best self, if you want to really, you know, become a boss, if you want to become successful, you're going to need support in all those areas, and especially your mind.
Mental health,
I mean,
that's
because
right.
everything else is affected by that. So,
True.
yeah. So you know, the show is about the show. It's about my life, but more importantly, I think it's an impact to really change the culture around mental health for specifically Black men and boys, and for us to get up to a better place.
Better place. It's funny you're saying all that because I watched during the COVID season, Catherine Morris did a weekly program called Audacity.
Yes.
Now, on one of those pieces, and I watched every single one of them, on one of those pieces she had a woman who was a doctor, Dr. Charmaine Jackman, and a young man, his name was Cliff Notes.
Yes. Yeah.
And he talked about mental health.
Yeah.
And he also talked about being in therapy, but he also talked about wanting to bring that, which is what you're doing, wanting to bring that to the community, and mainly to the community of Black men, because mental health is important.
Yeah, and shout out to Cliff Notes. He's also a filmmaker.
Yes, he is.
He has an incredible film called Vitiligo.
Yep, you talked about that.
Yeah, he's been doing that work for a while.
Yes,
and yeah, it's the same message, it's the same thing, you know, and we're just trying to create better models for the younger men coming up, that you can do this, and in fact this is going to help you to do this more.
Thank you. I love that. Because I think it is important, you know. And he also, remember him, and Dr. Jackman, she mentioned, you know, how it was always kept so quiet. Mental health, it wasn't brought up, it was a hush-hush thing. You didn't talk about that. Or you didn't go for mental health, you know, for healing, having mental health, and being able to go to someone and talk about that, and being able to get that assistance with being a better person.
Yeah. I mean, it's been clinically studied that, you know, women live longer than men, and part of the reason for that is women are more likely to communicate what they're feeling to each other, and
that's true.
Build more, tend to build more friendships.
Whereas men don't do that.
And that's really, we're talking about life or death.
Yes.
You know, like that really is what's going to, promote healthy living in a longer life, or, unhealthy living in a shorter life.
That's
you
right.
know?
That's right. We, I really want to get into this show that you're going to be doing, and I really didn't want to get into it, as I keep saying, too early. But I guess what we need to do is get into it. You did Come On In Live back in 23, and you only did it for one day.
It was a workshop.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, it was a workshop. So
I thought it was
the production,
one man, something else.
The production was we were working the production, so
Okay.
we wanted to show it in front of an audience, get their feedback, and continue to work on it. Yeah.
So that's why it was a workshop. I understand. But now, you're doing it again.
Yes.
And it's not going to be one day, it's going to be 3.
Yes.
What, I don't want to give it away, but I don't want you to give it away, but what, can you give us a bit, before we show the piece, can you give us a bit of what some of the changes that you've made in doing it, and why you're doing it for 3 days? Is it going to be more extensive?
Yes. So the show that we put on was, I think, around 45 minutes.
Yes.
This show is going to be much more like 82 minutes.
Oh.
And we got a lot of feedback from the workshop that we've incorporated, and really moving it towards more of those 3 institutions and talking about those 3 institutions.
Oh, so it's going to be more extensive in those institutions.
Yeah. Okay. And we're also, we had a little more time to be able to think through the sort of multimedia aspects of it, so the projection and the music, and so it's going to be a lot more. Everything's going to be at a higher level. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's going to be at the Strand Theater.
Oh yeah, I forgot that part.
Yeah.
It is
so
going
a
to be
much
at the
bigger
Strand
stage.
Theater. Not only a bigger stage, more people. I mean, a lot more people. Wow. How did you, or did you want to do it 3 days? But because of the way you've put it more extensive, did you find that having it 1 day was not going to be enough?
Yeah, I mean, again, the goal for this has always been to reach the maximum amount of people possible,
okay.
And to reach the community, you know, and there were a lot of people who couldn't make it before who wanted to, you know, and so providing
now.
providing more options, more seats, you know.
Now, I'm going to ask this, your outcome for these 3 days. Would you like to see more Black men come and see this production? I mean, we want to see community, which is true.
Yes.
But because this is coming from a Black man, and we're trying to get that message out to Black men and boys, would you like to see a lot more Black men in the audience?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm asking because it's important. I'm starting a women's project. So, and I'm starting it in March. I'm trying to work my way from small to more extensive. And that's why I asked that question. If you want to see,
yes,
a heightened, way of having more Black men. When you're, as far as coming to the sessions, are you promoting it to Black men?
we are. I mean, so we literally just made the announcement January 15th.
I'm going to say yes, around there.
So it's been about only 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
That we've actually made it public that this is what's happening.
Right.
But yes, the plan is definitely to reach my community. And, that's just not just Roxbury, but that's Dorchester, that's Mattapan, that's Hyde Park. That's all the areas where our people are at, and yes, it's Black men, but also Black boys. And also understanding that we exist in a community. So, we want the women there too. Because,
absolutely. That's why I say, community.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, we are going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk more, but we'll also have a clip.
Awesome.
So we can see what's going on. We'll be right back. We're going for a break. But my goodness.
God doesn't speak to me. Not even God. What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? It's okay. It's okay. I don't know. I don't know. You're thinking too much. Why are you thinking so much? You're thinking too much to know. You do not want to fail. You fail. You do not want to fail. To fail. You do not. My purpose. It's now. It's now. It's now. Now. Wait any longer. Now. It's right now. It's now. Stop. You got this. My mind started as a playground. It turned into a trap. I don't know when it happened. All I know is I gotta get free.
Welcome back to Artists of Color. I am Elaine Hall-Corbin, your host, and my guest is Mr. Daniel Callahan. Daniel, that was interesting. The very first time I saw it, I kept saying to myself, when's the mask coming? I said, when is the mask coming? Where's it going to show up? That was like to me, it was like watching the film. Because I kept saying, now there's this amazing film, it's a thriller, I'm actually scared to death, I'm gonna figure out what the heck I was trying to figure out what was going on through this whole entire movie. And then I said, wait a minute, the mask is missing. When's it coming? And then when I saw the mask for the first time, it was like I don't remember the young lady that was with you. She was the bartender
Oh yeah.
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
film, and it was like, okay. It was so much was going on in that film. There was a lot going on in that film. Even the drowning scene, I could never understand that. Because I was trying to figure out if in the drowning scene, if that guy was your brother or your cousin, or that was confusing. Still never figured it out, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll talk about that another time. Let's talk about this piece that we just saw. Explain it. We don't want to give it too much away, but is that part of what's going to happen at the end of March?
Well, it's definitely, I think, an encapsulation of a lot of things that happen in the show.
Okay.
The idea of my mind feeling like a prison. When I got to a point where, you know, I was doubting everything that I did. I didn't know what to think, what to believe. And when we get to, when I got to a point where I was second guessing everything I was thinking, my mind really felt like it was closing in on me, you know? And when your mind is in a good place, there's nowhere you can go and be in a good place, right? Because there's nowhere you can go and avoid your mind. And so another reason why mental health is so important, because that is the space in which we exist. And so the play really goes through times where my mind was a wonderful place, an amazing place, to times where my mind was a very scary place. Yeah. And what got me through that is really what the show is about.
Okay. Okay, I'm looking forward. I'm definitely looking forward. What made you, I want to know, what made you put it together like that? What made you want to do such a program? You started out with the workshop, which I didn't know was a workshop because I just thought it was a one-man show. But what did you want to bring your voice, which is what I guess I'm trying to ask, did you want to bring your voice out to Black men and boys to let them realize there's more, we need to have the help that we don't have or don't look for?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a big part of it. I think first and foremost, it was to myself.
Oh, okay.
To be able to voice this myself, you know, like there's many things, and you know, some of the things, the issues and challenges are things that I still am struggling with to this day. You know, like I'm still in the journey. And so part of that process is really being able to tell myself these things. And then when feel like I've worked through something, absolutely, I'm thinking if there's anyone else who is going through some of the things that I went through, I want to make sure that they know I'm here, you know, and also that I made it through, you know, like, and so this is something that, you know, you may be challenged with it, but it's not going to define you. It's not going to conquer you. You can make it through. And as soon as I have moments where I've, you know, come through some sort of challenge, it's just in my nature, I want to be able to give that back to other people, you know, because like, why else would I have gone through that challenge other than
to be able to
give back? Yeah.
So do you find, and it's fun because you're saying being able to give back, do you find that doing productions like this is your way of giving back? I mean, do you find that when you go through, I want to ask, when you go through a challenge, do you feel that it's time to make the challenge and the result of the challenge public to others, Black men, Black boys?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the beauty of life. You know, I think that's the beauty of struggle. Like, struggle is unavoidable in life, you know? So what do we do with it? You know, like, what is the purpose? And the only purpose I can think about, the only purpose that makes sense to me is that we go through struggles so that we can help other people who are struggling. We can empathize with them, you know, like we can offer solutions, we can offer support, we can offer our understanding. And that is the point of it all. And so, yes, anytime I go through something in my life, and that's why for me, you know, my work, my art, my practice, all this stuff is integrated. It's all the same thing. My faith, you know, what I practice in terms of my spirituality, it's all the same because I'm learning through this process too. I'm growing through this process too of putting this show on. Okay. And it's giving me access to you know, touch other people's lives. And so, yeah, that is absolutely the point.
How long have you been doing MassQing? I mean, I know where you started and I know what you were doing that brought you to that point.
Yeah.
But the reason I ask how long is because you're here, you're in this community. Do you want to expand what you do to other communities, even around the country?
Absolutely. I mean, I want to expand around the world.
Okay. Okay.
And it's
that one
already,
just hit me.
It's already certainly expanded, you know, past Boston, and you know, I've gone to New Hampshire, but I've also gone to like South Africa. You know, I've gone to many different places, and the beauty of MassQing is, like we talked about before, it's this indigenous practice that's practiced all over the world. All over
the world.
So really, you know, the people who I should be interfacing with should be international, and so absolutely, and yeah.
All right. It's just, you know, I can't wait to see this one. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to hearing what others will think about it when you have the conclusion. How are you publicizing this now? I mean, we're here on my show, so we know we're publicizing it here, but how are you publicizing the show in March? What are you doing to get it out to the folks?
Yes, so first and foremost, we have a website, www.comeoninlive.com. And that has all the information for ticketing, but also information about the show. I've neglected to talk about the incredible team that I have for this show.
Yes, we do need to know about the team.
The director, her name is Iona Morris Jackson. She is a NAACP Image Award nominee.
Winner,
and she's directed Blackish, as well as many other one-man and one-woman shows.
Really?
A variety of different people. And she's the OG of one-woman shows. Like, she has been doing one-woman shows her whole career. And so when I got a chance to be able to work with her, you know, I jumped on it. My producer, my incredible producer, Narissa Williams-Scott, who is the one who introduced me to Iona, she is producing this along with her business, TCGT Entertainment, That Child Got Talent Entertainment.
Never heard that. Okay.
I have an incredible PR person by the name of Nicole Maxey, who's with me today.
Okay.
And we also have a marketing guru, I should say. Her name is Chelsea Garrett. And we're also, you know, bringing some of the best stagecrafts, some of the best lighting designers, music directors together to make this show happen. So it's really amazing. The fact that we're being able to assemble all this talent for this show is really exciting.
I know your PR person. I know that's a Boston person. But are the rest of your team, are they from like out of the state? Are they in the state?
They're in state.
They're in state.
Iona is from LA.
Iona's not, right.
Is not.
I knew she wasn't. Okay.
Yeah. I should also say a very accomplished actor as well. She really started as an actor.
I've known her, and I've known that name, and I probably have seen her.
I mean, she's been on a lot of different things, a lot of different television, a lot of movies. The thing that really impressed me, though, which she's probably going to laugh, but I found out she was the voice actor for Storm of the animated X-Men.
Are you kidding me?
Series, and I like grew up on that cartoon.
Please.
So when I heard
I
that,
may not have grown up on it, but I watched it.
I was a fan. I was a fan from that point on.
Storm.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. See, you know, we as a people got talent.
Oh man, yeah, in spades.
Thank you.
But yeah, so she's not from Boston, but most folks are Boston or Massachusetts area. Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Will she be here for the entire 3 days?
She will. She will be here. Yes.
I would like to meet her.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm in awe about your team.
I am too. I mean,
It's like,
I have to
whoa.
pinch myself every now and then. You know,
Yeah, like, is this real?
God is good.
All the time. What are you going to? How are you going to expand this production once it's over in March? Do you intend to expand it?
We do.
Even more.
We do. Yes,
You
yes.
do.
Like the masking work, it's you know, this work is for such a large portion of the population that we don't want to limit it. You know, we want to go across the United States. We want to go to Edinburgh. We
There
want to
you
go
go.
to London. We want to go
Oh,
to,
wow.
you know, and Narissa, Narissa, my producer, really has a vision for this. She wants
Oh,
this
she
to
does.
go global.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Where, there's so much to ask, and I'm trying to figure out where to go next. But we talked about why you're doing it. We talked about where you're doing it. We talked about, you know, the black men and black boys culture, and why, you know, why I would say would need to see this production. We also talked about your masking and how you got to masking. But I want to go back a little bit. You talked just a bit about music. Tell me a little bit about your short music career. Because I think from what I got when you did,
it wasn't short.
because okay,
But yeah, it's like it almost feels like a past life in a way.
okay,
Yeah.
ah,
But you know, I like I said, I was raised in hip hop, and so, you know, I grew up with the music, and through my brothers really started to experiment with creating the music, and my brothers really put me onto, you know, recording, to beat making,
beat making. Okay, never heard that.
producing music, you know, producing hip hop music, and in high school, all throughout high school, I was doing that. And in fact, in high school, you know, we put on the first hip hop concert at our school.
Okay.
And then I took it to college, and I was performing in college as well. And then that eventually led me to California, where I was really pursuing it as a profession. And so I was making music, honestly, since I was maybe 13, 14.
Did you cut any records?
I did.
Oh,
yeah.
great,
Yeah.
great. Hey, I'm trying to get in little bits and pieces that I don't know about Daniel Callahan.
Sure.
Daniel, it's interesting what you've done, and to learn more about a little bit more about masking and you know, as far as being from indigenous people, and the fact that and something I always knew, as far as, you know, masking people, not only their faces but also their bodies. You know, that's been indigenous. You know, people don't, and it's very funny because even though it's come from indigenous people, and it always has been, I find that people don't really know that, and they don't really understand what masking is and what it means. You know, like the reason I'm saying that all this is, do you find that when you mask someone, do you find that you can see what they're kind of like what they're feeling, or what some of their emotions are about while you're masking them, or once the process is done? Have you ever noticed that?
I definitely see things. And I've been told that what I've seen resonates with people. I never assume that I can see what somebody's feeling or thinking.
Right, but when you but like you said, when you mask someone, the emotions come through.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've folks have
Or what
wept. I mean, folks have had very strong reactions to what I've created, and you know, I say created
It's not really a creation because
it's a collaboration. You know,
Right.
it's them giving their energy to me and me giving my energy back through this mask. So, you know, and it's their face. You know, it's their face and all the history that's in that
who they
face.
are.
You know, like of who they are exactly. And so, you know, it's
trials and tribulations.
and I go into these maskings without any agenda. I don't have a pre-planned idea of what the mask is going to be. It comes really through my interaction with them. So, you know, I claim my portion of it. I claim I'm proud to be a part of it, but it's certainly
That's
it's not just me.
It's
at
not
work.
just you.
Yeah.
No, it's the person. What do you find teaching? How do you find what you get from teaching a masking class?
Yeah.
Tell me how that works.
Sure. I love teaching masking, and I think what I get out of it is just seeing the incredible creations that other people come up with, and I love at the end of it seeing all these folks who have come in one way are now different, and they're now something more, you know. And I think that what folks get from it is an opportunity to really reflect. We really don't have much time in our daily schedules just for reflection. You know, and I have people looking in mirrors, and often when we're looking in a mirror, we're checking if our hair's right.
Right.
There's something in our
Exactly.
nose, you know, something in our teeth or
Yep,
whatever.
exactly, and that's
you know?
what we're just not looking.
We're just not looking. We're not looking, and we're not reflecting on you know, where am I at in this moment in my life? You know,
That's
who
it.
am
The
I?
moment.
You know, yeah. There's
moment.
a presence
Yes.
that we don't often have access to in our busy schedules, and so just that moment alone is a lot for people. But when you add to that the ability to then, in a place with others, take that journey into oneself and then to change your physical appearance.
Yes.
You know, and then to be in a space where you're seeing everyone else appearance
changing
change.
Yes.
And like, you know, it's a really kind of amazing experience. And every time, you know, it wows me every time.
Do you just teach adults, or have you done it with children?
So I basically from teenager to adult.
To adults.
Not to say that I couldn't do it with kids, but with kids, they have such a affinity for face painting that it's hard to distinguish those two things. So I usually, and also I'm really interested in moments of change. So teenagers especially, I've found.
What do you find with teenagers?
Oh man, they're the best.
Really?
Yeah, because they're in this constant change. You know, they're changing. Their appearance is changing on a daily basis. You know, like they're trying to figure out the world. And I just find they're so receptive to that invitation. Adults can be kind of weary, not sure, you know, oh, I have my makeup, I don't want to mess that up, or, you know, or like, you know.
You know, don't want to touch.
Maybe I'll try a little bit, but teenagers will be like, no, we're going to do our whole face, we're going to change.
Yeah.
So their enthusiasm is just amazing.
Okay. Do you teach in schools? Or do
Yes.
you have a particular?
I've done masking workshops in schools. They're really a great tool for sort of building camaraderie.
Oh, okay.
So often I'll do them at orientations where, like, you know, they're team building. Many different spaces, museums.
Okay, right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to just a little bit. You mentioned team building. How does that work when you're doing masking and the process is to build a team? What team building? Maybe I'm got a little confused, but I'm trying to understand how that works.
Sure. I think why masking is such a great team building activity is because, well, one, if it's an extended masking workshop, I'll have you mask yourself and then also mask someone else.
Oh, okay.
And so obviously with masking yourself, you're having a moment with yourself of sort of reflection.
Yes.
But then you're revealing that to a community, and everyone is revealing that. And we get to talk about what the ideas were around our masks and what we're thinking about. And that leads to really nice, intimate conversations that we don't usually have with each other. That's true. Then
That's true.
if you are to take the next step and mask someone else, you then have to listen to them and be open to their journey, and then try to interpret that in a mask, and then they get to be, they get to sit for you and be your muse, and that exchange is so powerful. And then to share that out to others who are having the similar experience, it just creates such a bond, and it's very much like there's a reason why we were doing this for as long as we have as humans. There's a beautiful bond that happens, and a beautiful kinship that happens through that process.
Okay. Wow. What do you want to see as you grow, as far as masking is concerned? What do you see the future of you teaching masking, doing more film, directing? What do you want to see in the future as far as all of that put together is concerned?
Well, one thing that we haven't talked much about is this mask ball.
That's right. Oh, yeah, we got a few minutes. Let's talk about the mask ball. I remember I went to the first one. That was in 2017.
That was in 2017, and
I loved it.
I'm glad we did one recently in 2022.
I know, that's the one I missed.
And yeah, I think the mask ball is a really great encapsulation of what I see masking as, in terms of a way for many people to come together. For folks who weren't there or unaware, the mask ball is like a giant celebration of the arts and communities of people of color here in Boston. And so the mask ball that we did in July of last year at the Arnold Arboretum was just incredible outdoor sort of celebration. And we had art traditions from all different communities of color in Boston.
Oh, really?
So, we had our indigenous brothers and sisters from the Nipmuc Nation and from the Wampanoag Nation, and we had, I should say, peoples, and we had, hip hop dance, we had African dance, we had spoken word artists, we had Brazilian capoeira, we had, I should say, masking happening all throughout the route through the Arboretum, and so it was this incredible sort of melting pot of cultures, and that I think is what masking can bring to the world, ways for communities to come together and share and enjoy each other.
Do you want to do it again?
Yes, we are.
Are you having plans to do it again?
We are in works.
Oh,
we're talking.
All right.
So
this is great.
No dates to announce yet.
Okay, no dates, but it's working.
It's working.
Oh my goodness. Oh, this is great. I can think of many things, and I'll probably go over things, but I was very glad to have you today. I'm looking forward again to the production in March.
Yes.
I want to always congratulate you on everything that you do. So, Daniel, I'll see you in March. Good afternoon again. I'm Elaine Hall-Corbin, your host of Artists of Color. My guest has been Daniel Callahan, and we're going to be looking out for his premiere, I'm going to call it, that's coming in March at the Strand Thearter.
March 28th through the
28th,
30th.
29th, and 30th. I have to look all that up.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with me today.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Oh, goodness.